The night the Apache clan captured him, the moon was thin like a blade, and the desert wind carried whispers of death. And the man who called himself Elias Cole did not resist when the rawhide ropes tightened around his wrists, because resistance would have revealed what he truly was, and what he truly was had been forged in blood long before his boots ever touched this land. For Elias was not a lost traveler, not a drifter, not a foolish outsider wandering into sacred Apache territory. He was a hunter trained by men who believed the Apache were a problem to be erased, a shadow sent west, with orders written not on paper, but in the cold language of extermination. And as the warriors dragged him into the firelight, their painted faces hard with suspicion and pride, none of them knew that this calm-eyed captive had memorized their trails, counted their fires, studied their movements from the hills for weeks, learning their songs, their guard rotations, their weaknesses, because a hunter never strikes blindly. And yet as Elias was pushed to his knees before the clan, something unexpected stirred inside him when he saw the children watching, from behind their mothers, eyes wide, curious rather than afraid, and the old men gripping spears not with hatred, but with the quiet resolve of people who had survived too much to panic. And when the chief stepped forward, tall and weathered, his gaze heavy with wisdom and sorrow, Elias felt for the first time a crack in the armor that years of killing had built around his soul. Because the chief did not ask who he was, with rage or threats. He simply asked why he had come, and Elias lied with ease, saying he was a trader attacked by bandits, lost and starving, and the lie slid smoothly from his tongue because lies had kept him alive more times than truth ever had. But still the chief's daughter, Ayana, watched him with eyes sharp as flint, eyes that saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his gaze tracked every movement, the way his breathing never quickened even when surrounded by spears. And that night Elias was thrown into a wooden cage, expected to die or be questioned later. Yet instead of fear he felt calculation, counting the hours until dawn, because dawn was when he had planned to begin the killing, before fate twisted his path. And as he lay on the cold ground, listening to the Apache drums echo through the night, memories of his training returned, the voices of men who called the Apache savages, who paid in gold for scalps and silence, who taught him that mercy was weakness and hesitation was death. And still when he closed his eyes, it was not those men he saw. It was Ayana's gaze, piercing, questioning, as if she sensed the storm hidden behind his calm face. And when dawn finally came, instead of execution, Elias was pulled from the cage and forced to walk with the clan as they moved camp, bound but alive, and with every step through the red earth, every shared fire, every moment he witnessed them, Apache helping their wounded, honoring their dead, laughing despite hardship. The hunter's certainty began to rot from the inside, because these were not monsters, they were people, proud, wounded, resilient. And when soldiers' gunshots echoed from the distant hills one evening, Elias realized with horror that the extermination would happen with or without him, and the greatest question he had ever faced burned in his chest like fire. Would he complete the mission he was born for, or betray the men who made him and protect the people who had shown him humanity? And if this story has already pulled you into its grip, if you feel the tension tightening with every word, remember to subscribe to the channel, because the fate of the hunter and the clan is only beginning, and what comes next will change everything. The moment Elias realized the soldiers were close, the hunter inside him screamed for action, while the man he was becoming stood frozen. Because he knew the army did not come to negotiate, they came to burn, to erase the Apache from the land like ink wiped from a page. And when he tried to warn the chief, the words tangled in his throat. Because how do you confess that you were sent to destroy the very people now trusting you with their lives? And when the truth finally spilled out under Ayana's relentless gaze, when he admitted he was the hunter, the silence that followed was heavier than any gunshot. The warriors raised their weapons, betrayal cutting deeper than any blade, and Elias did not resist when they beat him, because he believed he deserved it. But the chief stopped them, not out of mercy, but because wisdom demanded answers. And as Elias explained the plan, the numbers, the timing of the attack, the Apache realized the enemy was closer than they feared. And as the camp prepared to flee, Elias was given a choice that would seal his fate: escape and disappear into the chaos, or stay and fight against his own kind, knowing there would be no forgiveness waiting on either side. And when the first bullets tore through the trees, Elias chose, grabbing a fallen rifle and standing beside the Apache warriors, moving with lethal precision, turning his skills not against them but for them. And the battle that followed was chaos and fire, screams and smoke, blood soaking into sacred ground. And Elias fought like a man possessed, protecting the children, dragging the wounded to safety, taking bullets meant for others. And when the smoke cleared, many were dead, Apache and soldiers alike, and Elias lay bleeding, staring at the sky he once believed he would die under as a monster. And as Ayana knelt beside him, her hands red with blood, he understood that redemption was not found in surviving, but in choosing what you stand for when everything is lost. And though the Apache never fully forgave him, they allowed him to live among them, not as a hunter, not as a weapon, but as a man paying his debt every day. And years later, when the stories were told around the fire, they spoke of the outsider who was sent to destroy them, but chose instead to stand and bleed beside them, a reminder that even those forged for darkness can choose the light. And if this ending moved you, if you want more powerful stories of betrayal, redemption, and untold legends of the West, subscribe to the channel now, because the next story waiting for you is even darker, deeper, and unforgettable. Years passed like slow-moving clouds over the red mesas, and the name Elias Cole faded from the wanted posters nailed to frontier towns. But among the Apache it was spoken softly, not as legend and not as forgiveness, but as a reminder of choice, because Elias lived each day carrying the weight of what he had been and what he had saved, rising before dawn to hunt not men but food, standing watch at night not out of duty but devotion. And though some warriors still looked at him with guarded eyes, the children followed him, listening wide-eyed as he taught them how to read tracks, how to survive the desert without fear. And one winter, when sickness swept through the camp and medicine was scarce, Elias rode alone through enemy territory to steal supplies from the very fort that once paid him to kill, returning half dead but victorious. And it was then the chief placed a hand on his shoulder and spoke the words Elias never thought he would hear, not forgiveness but acceptance. And as grey crept into his beard, Elias understood that redemption was not a single, heroic act but a lifetime of standing on the right side of the fire, even when the past kept whispering his name in the dark. And when he finally died, buried under stones facing the sunrise, the Apache sang not a warrior's song, not a hunter's chant, but a song of transformation, of a man who crossed the line between hatred and humanity. And if this story stayed with you, if you believe even the darkest past can be challenged by a single brave choice, then subscribe to the channel, because more untold stories of courage, betrayal, and redemption are waiting to be told.